When you experience trauma, your body contracts, your breath shortens, your mind narrows in on a potential threat. This is what we call survival mode, fight, flight, freeze. And when you have been reacting in this way for a long time, it creates contractions and tensions within your body, physically, mentally, and emotionally. These become patterns of protection. They then manifest themselves in your identity and who you are. So this is how we are going to resolve trauma, is by releasing these patterns of protection and these contractions that you're carrying, which have an effect on your identity and your personality. And when you release them, you can feel more at ease being who you are. In this video, I'm going to be talking about these contractions and how you can release them. So recently I came up with a quote which defines trauma in kind of how I experienced it. And in the quote I said, trauma causes you to close in on yourself until you are suffering in your own misery. What I was aiming to express with that comment was that trauma causes you to close yourself. Because of some difficult things that happened to you in the past that were very overwhelming, you didn't know how to deal with them and they caused you to close, right? Because survival, as we often say, is the default program of the human being. We will do anything it takes to help us survive. If you experience something scary, you're going to go into this survival pattern. And these survival patterns become chronic and you get stuck there. You get stuck there by contracting your body, right? Holding tension. That causes you to armor yourself, because in the future, if any potential threat comes along, you've got this default mode of closing myself, protecting myself. But as you can probably imagine, that's not a very healthy, productive way to go through your life. In fact, it's going to make you miserable because you've closed in on yourself and now you are just suffering within that misery. And what happens is, as you contract parts of yourself, they manifest themselves in your identity. So you might have certain habits or patterns. Maybe you're a people pleaser or a nice guy. You will have contractions in your body that are a manifestation of these behaviors, right? It's like a pattern. They reinforce one another. You act the behavior out because you're feeling a certain way, which strengthens the contraction. And so you need to start to get very clear about, where am I contracting? Where am I tightening myself? What are my dysfunctional habits and these traits that I've got, like people pleasing or whatever, that cause me to behave in this way? Because ultimately what you are doing is you are trying to keep yourself safe, right? That's what people pleasing is. It's a survival response. It's not a healthy way of being. You are so scared of maybe upsetting someone and the unpredictability of that you try to please them all the time, right? You're always kind of being submissive because you're afraid if you were to be yourself, that could be dangerous, because when you were younger, maybe it was dangerous for you to be yourself, right? So you've learned to close, you've learned to contract. The good news is we can start to work with these contractions, release them, and as you do that, it automatically changes the behavior. You see, this isn't about some therapy and you talk it out. This is real, like, bodily kind of work. And I want to talk to you about how meditation and even the spiritual awakening will heal a lot of this stuff. Honestly, the way I see a lot of people's identities is it's a form of self-protection. Most people are not authentic. Most people's identities are just there to protect them. They had some hurts in the past. They never want to get hurt again, so they protect themselves. And they think that's who they are. But it's not who you are, right? Your identity is a form of self-protection. That's what the ego is. It's trying to protect you. That's why it makes you selfish. That's why it always makes you angry. You're always trying to maybe defeat people or get one over on other people, right? It's a survival protective mechanism which is not going to support you in you becoming your greatest self. Again, just to make that point, wherever you have contracted in your body will be manifesting itself in your identity, the way that you see the world, your relationships, what you do in your life. It's influencing everything, right? Because your body is the subconscious mind. So if you've closed yourself, then your view of the world will be very closed as well. You will not see opportunities and possibilities and how unlimited life can be. How do we resolve this? First thing I'm going to talk to you about, I talk about this in every video lately, and it's you need to learn to calm your attention. Check out my last video on this one about the monkey mind. But until you can calm your attention down, you will keep being hijacked by the trauma responses. This is something spiritual teachers don't talk enough about, at least the ones I listen to. They don't talk about the importance of having good attention and focus, concentration skills. Because until you develop that, you won't develop a strong enough prefrontal cortex. And this is the part of your mind that regulates your feelings, like the amygdala and fear and all these survival responses. So you need to develop a stronger level of attention. Okay, and when you can do that, you can actually calm your attention down. As you calm your attention down, it stops being hijacked by these automatic contractions and responses you're having to triggers and other people, right? So it starts with calming your attention. It's going to take you some time. What I would suggest you do is pick 2 or 3 activities every single day where you can practice your attention. It might be reading a book. It might be meditating. It might be working out, but you need to practice this regularly. There's no excuses. And obviously it goes without saying, cut the amount of time you spend on your phone, social media, etc. Until you can calm your mind down, the contractions are going to feel so overwhelming to you, you're just going to keep getting hijacked and your attention is just going to keep spiraling off into the past or the future. That's the importance of disciplining the attention. It helps you to be more present and it helps you to kind of meet these contractions, right? Because they're not comfortable to feel. And your mind will just make meaning out of what you're feeling, which is not necessarily accurate. If you're feeling some contraction in your gut, your mind is just going to make some kind of story out of that contraction, which might not even be true, right? Because the mind is like a meaning-making machine. It's always going to try to make meaning of what you're experiencing. What you'll understand when you truly awaken is your mind is very limited. It's helpful if it's got the right direction. The mind needs a lot of direction, okay? If you leave the mind to its own antics, it will ruin your life. But the mind is a meaning-making machine and it will just make the craziest meanings until you can discipline that thing, okay? And because its perspective is very limited, you just need to see that it is not everything. It is very small and narrow compared to the breadth of the whole experience of life. So your true self is awareness, is consciousness. We can liken this to space, openness. If you have ever gone deep enough in meditation, you will be able to find this space of your true self. And when you find that, you see that it's the opposite of contraction. It's openness. It's spaciousness. So if you want to contract and close yourself because of your trauma, meditating, going very deep in that, you'll find this openness, this spaciousness, right? Space is everywhere. Space is always present. It's everywhere. You cannot do anything with space, right? You can't harm it. Trauma can't harm space. Violence, bad shit cannot harm space, right? That's essentially what you are. You're more than that. It's not just an empty space. Like, it's got a lot more to it, but at your core, that's what you are. And that's what you will need to connect to heal your trauma, right? Because you find the openness, it's the opposite of contraction, it's the opposite of tightness. And it starts to open you up. It will take time, right? Because a lot of these contractions you're carrying, like I said, your whole identity will be revolving around them. And you've probably had them for so long that you won't know who you are without them, right? So it's this gradual unfolding of you finding yourself and slowly letting go of these contractions. Because as the contractions are released, they release energy, okay? You reclaim more of yourself. Something interesting that's happened to me through this process is as I release these contractions and I relax more into my body, old memories come up of things that seem completely unrelated, but I'd completely forgotten about. For example, one time I had memories of a situation where I was in a nightclub dancing, right? I completely forgot about it, but it was years ago, and for some reason, this memory just come out of nowhere, right? So you'll just have random memories popping up as you release these contractions, because there's literally stuff stuck there. Good stuff as well, not necessarily all bad, evil, negative stuff. There'll be positive things there as well. And so, like I was saying, consciousness is this spacious awareness. Another quality of it is it's intelligent and it's loving. It's like a loving intelligence. What do you think a loving intelligence will do when you meet it or when you become it? It's going to start to rewire you. It's going to start to heal you. It's going to start putting you back to who you should have been, okay? Releasing and washing away all these contractions and tight areas that you've been carrying. Trauma also, it traps you into the past. You probably had some experiences that were very overwhelming and they were too big for you to deal with. So they kind of got stuck in you. And because they got stuck in you, it means you haven't got over them. And you are stuck in the past, essentially. And so your system keeps looping in fear, shame, guilt, anger, or whatever, because it's trying to process whatever got stuck there. So the power of meditation and finding that spaciousness helps you to be more present to the moment. This is what you'll find as you become more conscious. The more present you become, the less past. The more you can hold your attention in the present moment, the more this past loses its hold over you, right? Because you stop energizing it. When it's stuck and you're looping in it, you're energizing it, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. But when you bring your attention into the present moment and you stop feeding these old patterns, your energy starts to build quite a lot, right? And eventually you have a lot of energy. When you have a lot of energy in the present moment, you become a very powerful person. Also, the stillness of your true self is like, it's safety, right? It will feel safe. It's like a vast openness. There's nothing threatening there. It's just openness. And you need to sink into it. And to sink into it, you have to let go of the trauma. You have to let go of who you think you are and who you have been. Like I said, your personality is probably just a response to trauma. Your whole identity is not who you think you are. This is a deeper part to you. So if you were to do this in a meditation, how would it look? I'll explain quickly. You just obviously want to get into your meditative practice. Close your eyes. Get comfortable. Allow your attention to settle. Right? Allow it to kind of sink. But you still need to keep a hold of it a little bit. Especially if you have this tendency to get hijacked. That's why, I'll say it again, you need to train and strengthen your attention. But when you can be silent and quiet, breathe deeply, because deep breaths is space as well. That's one way to look at breathing. You're bringing in space, right? Openness. And that alone, the breathing, the deep breathing and the silence and sinking deeper, calming your attention will start to allow you to feel this spaciousness I'm talking about. And then you want to bring this spaciousness into your body, into the uncomfortable spots, into the contracted spots, and allow these places to relax, okay? A lot of these contractions, the tight areas, they react when you feel under threat. And some of you will be feeling under threat just from your thoughts. So you find these tight areas, learn to sit with them and relax them, okay? Let them know it's okay. I know it sounds crazy. I'm asking you to almost talk to your body, but it works. And you bring spaciousness to them. You bring this kind of loving intelligence to them, and they calm down and they open up, right? And then when you're out in public, you might notice, for example, these contractions come back, right? In certain situations around certain people, in certain environments. And then you practice when you're outside, and so it becomes an active meditation. You need to get very aware of where you are tight. You need to get very aware of where you are contracted. But just work with where you're at. Just focus on one contraction. If you can't feel anything in your body, it's probably because you have numbed yourself. And you will need to spend time on feeling more of your body. Eventually, the sensations will come back because they are there. Again, you need to work on relaxing them. Sinking into that openness of your true being. That loving intelligence which wants to heal you, which wants to rewire your whole system and bring you back to peace. as I said before, but I want to make the point again because it's important. As you begin to let go of the old identity and sink into the true self, the true peace that you are, you stop feeding the old patterns. As you keep withdrawing your energy from them over and over again, your energy field will grow a lot. You'll have a lot more energy in the present moment. And when you have a lot of energy in the present moment, you can do a lot more with yourself and with your life. Because by that point, you are not being hijacked by the trauma anymore. Okay, so kind of see it as though your trauma and these contractions, it has something for you. There's a lot of energy there for you. There's parts of you in there that you need to reclaim, right? It's like it's stolen them from you. Are you going to go and reclaim them, or are you going to keep feeding into them and letting these traumas do whatever they want to you? Final point I wanted to make is learn to relax, okay? Especially if you have trauma, you are probably not very relaxed, especially not unconsciously. Unconsciously, you have a lot of tension, which is causing these contractions. You need to practice on relaxation, relaxing your subconscious over and over again in all different types of experiences. Slowly, unconsciously, subconsciously, as you relax, your whole system will shift. Okay? The contractions over time will pass. It might take some time for some of them to go. I know I have had this experience, right? Certain things I still feel because I don't know how long they've been there, probably since I was very, very young. But you just keep working with them and they just reduce in effect. Like they just don't bother you as much because you'll get to a point where you realize you've got mastery over it. Okay, even if they come back again, occasionally you get triggered sometimes, you'll know most of the time, 90% of the time, that you've got mastery over it. And by that point, it kind of loses its hold because you're not feeding it, you're not energizing it. And even unconsciously, you know you've won that battle, okay? When you know you've won, it's over, right? And then you can find who you are and what you're here to do. So that's everything I've got to talk about in the video. I hope it helps some of you out. I might actually do a guided meditation on this. So if you do want to see that, let me know in the comments and I'll do something for that. But if you want to watch anything else like this, check out these videos right here. But until next time, God bless.